I have little time to write you this story, because right now they are tracking my superiors and other organizations that do not want this to be disclosed. I hope you understand my story, because I want to take advantage of this space to let all the people out there know that there are things they have no idea exist. This story is totally real. It is something that happened to us while in the mountains of Guanajuato. I am a soldier and I have lived several experiences that I would like others to know. This happened a few months ago, in the month of July of this year to be exact. I am an active soldier still, and in one of our most recent missions, we were sent to the mountains in the state of Guanajuato, and there we found something that left all of my platoon surprised. We are 20 elements. Our job in the mountains was to look for marijuana plants and destroy them. In one of our searches, we left in the morning like every day. Everything was going well. We were walking to a site that we already had located, because they had already given us the exact coordinates. We were very far, because walking, it took 3 days to get to him. On day 1, everything was going well until night came. We had to spend the night in a part of the hill to rest. And already there, at dawn, we began to hear strange noises. In the distance they perceived themselves as some laments. They were quite heartbreaking cries, as if they were killing or torturing someone. They were heard very far away, and those screams came accompanied by voices and screams that seemed to be non-human. They were usually heard as animals or other types of creatures. We had never heard anything like that. After a few moments, the noises stopped, and we were just shocked, wondering where those screams came from. The next morning, we got up from our camp and continued our journey. We all agreed that everything looked different, because everything around us was submerged in a deep silence that no one could explain. No birds were heard, nor any other round animal. Everything was in a complete and strange silence. Thus it remained all day, until night reached us again. We set up camp again to rest. And again, at dawn, we heard those cruel and terrible cries again. This time, they were heard closer, and with an echo that seemed to be the most terrifying yet. We turned to take care of the perimeter all night, which went without any more news. Nothing attacked us, and those burning with pain disappeared after a few minutes. The sunrise of the third day came. We resumed our walk, and finally reached the site where they had given us the coordinates. We worked most of the afternoon, and after finishing work, we left for work. As part of the strategy to avoid being ambushed by a criminal group, we returned on a different path. And in the end, I think it didn't turn out to be the best. Once the return was started, we walked for several hours, until the night came. We found a cave, and decided to camp inside it. The worst mistake of our lives, because we did not know what we were going to face. Once we were there, we proceeded with the security protocol, and we set times to leave several elements outside as guards to be taken care of while the others rested. The hours passed, and it was dawn. Around 3 in the morning, we heard the same screams we heard the previous days. However, the most terrifying thing was that we heard the same screams at the bottom of the cave where we were. We all remained in complete silence to pay more attention. Outside, nothing else was heard than the wind blowing. After a few seconds, those horrible laments returned to rumble our ears. We decided to divide into 2 small groups. One would enter to find out what was happening, and the other would stay outside in case of needing support. I joined the group that was prepared to enter. We went in little by little, not knowing what we were going to come across. Attentive and armed, we went forward in secret. And no, you won't believe what we saw. We arrived at a place where some reptile-looking beings were sacrificing a woman. Those beings were about 2 meters tall. Their skin was scaly and of a greenish color, and they had the whole face of a lizard. They had claws, and they moved with great fluency. When we saw this, we were petrified. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. It's surprising to realize that in front of you. Their skin was scabby and very likely they belonged to another planet, and they had the whole face of a lizard. One of them realized our presence and with a strange sound alerted the others. We, terrified, began to run and they came after us. We unloaded our cartridges against them, but our ammunition seemed to not affect them at all. It seemed that they bounced on their skin like they had a type of armor. As we ran out of place, those engenders reached 3 of my companions. 2 of them lost an arm, and the third, with his claws, opened his abdomen, leaving his intestines exposed. When we reached the exit of the cave, we asked for aerial support by radio for a quick evacuation, and we explained what had happened. We formed a defense barrier, so that those beings would not approach us. But apparently, they could not or did not want to leave that cave. More than 10 minutes passed when a completely black helicopter arrived at our position. Instantly, we knew that it was not one of ours, because we do not handle that type of helicopters in our army. From it, 4 heavily armed men descended with metallic-type suits, also black, and with polarized masks that covered their entire face. They approached us and told us to withdraw, that they would be the ones who would control the situation. Their voices sounded very eccentric. They also sounded very metallic. They didn't seem human. They entered the cave, and we witnessed a massacre. We saw how they took 2 of those dead, entirely crippled beings from their bodies. 2 of those agents came back to us. They told us not to talk to anyone about what we had seen, that they worked directly for the government, and they knew perfectly who we were. And if we divulged that information, they would come after us. Act followed. They left with those beings in their helicopter, and we know very well that from that moment on, there are organizations that have us under surveillance. After that event, we have been assigned to various special operations, where we have to escort U.S. government personnel who work in secret of the public light here in Mexico. I know perfectly well that they don't want us to tell you what happened that day. I hope that telling you this doesn't have repercussions on my life, but I want everyone to know what really happens in this world. I want you to know that there are corners on this planet in which things totally out of our imagination happen, that there are stories and conspiracies that people don't believe, but all those stories, they keep something of truth. I would like this story to reach the largest number of people, so that everyone can see that we live deceived by the great governments that hide the truth. Things and beings that secret associations of the governments of the world are hiding from us. And with frankness, I reiterate that in this world there are things that totally surpass fiction and our imagination.